So my nearly 80-year-old aunt came to visit me this weekend, and I haven't seen her in several years, and she knows where all the bodies are buried. And since she was visiting this weekend, and this is my first time having the chance to really chat with her as an adult with adult children, and her being the age that she is, she decided to spill all the tea. My aunt knows all the family secrets. Now, you may have heard me talk about my kind of mob adjacent history, my Chicago mob adjacent history via my grandfather. So I knew that there were some things going on, and I must have heard stuff. I must have heard stuff when I was a kid. I'm an author, and where do I get some of these stories, and like, how does some of this stuff even come up? And it had to have been because when I was a kid, I would hear little snippets and hear little bits and pieces of these stories, but I wasn't able to make sense of them and put them together. So as an adult, I'm like, well, let's just do it this way. But the truth is much more scandalous. So one of the things I learned was about my grandmother. I learned a lot about my grandmother. My grandmother was straight out of the 1930s and 40s, Depression-era baby, and grew up very, very poor. And I was always told that when she met my grandfather, and he was a bit of a catch. 1940s, he was 6'3", blue eyes, big build, very charming, much taller than her, and she was like 5'7", 5'8" in the 1930s and 40s, so she was a tall girl, and he had a little bit of money. Not a lot. We didn't have a lot of money, but we had a little bit of money, the mob. And so she was like, this is a catch. I was always told that when she decided to marry him, she left the Catholic Church and joined the Lutheran Church because he was Lutheran, Germany and everything. And and that way they could get married in the Lutheran Church and raise their kids Lutheran and all that kind of stuff. That was the story I heard. Au contraire, mon frere. That is not what happened. My aunt sits down and is talking to me about grandma, and she says this as though it's just an average Sunday afternoon. Well, and when your grandmother was excommunicated from the Catholic Church, I'm sorry, grandma was excommunicated? Like, that happens to people? Oh yes, evidently. She grew up very strict Polish Catholic, and it's almost like on the cusp of being like Eastern Orthodox style. Like, it was a weird Catholic church. I won't lie. It was wild, and not like any of the Catholic churches I had ever seen out in my lifetime. And they were very strict and staunch about certain things. And when my very Polish Catholic grandmother, remember 1930s, 1940s, important, decided to marry my very German, well, half German, half native, grandfather, okay, that caused some issues. He was Lutheran, she was Catholic, and she was excommunicated because she was going to marry him. That's evidently a thing that happens to people. I did not know that. So I look at my dad. My dad's sitting right there, and I'm like, Dad, why didn't you ever tell me about this? You never told me grandma was excommunicated. Like, that's like a scandalous thing you hear in history. Like, that doesn't happen to your grandma. And my dad goes, well, I didn't tell you, Michelle, because this is the first time I'm hearing it right now in my life. My dad's 73. And he always thought his grandma or his mom left the Catholic Church. So some secrets stay buried very, very deep for a very long time. But man, they do eventually rise. Thank you, Aunt Sue. That is just one of the wild stories. I got more. I'm going to make this a whole series because she unloaded everything.